They probably hear my heater going. I'm so darn cold today. I don't understand why.
Well, it's been 70s and now it's 50.
I cannot warm up in my house. I'm always, I'm just story of my life. It could be 100. I'd probably have a space heater.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Lynette, how are you?
Doing great. We're getting ready to fly over you today. We head down to New Orleans.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Yeah, we have a friend to meet up with, and we're going to take our son deep sea fishing in the Gulf.
That's so fun.
So have you done that before? Have you done that before?
My husband has been down there to do that. I've only been down because of Mary Kay leadership conferences. That was New Orleans was my first leadership conference. And then actually one of my sister, one of my offsprings, then my sister Nadine, her first, but we've only been down there separately. I deep sea fished once in 3rd grade off the coast of Cape Cod, and it was quite an experience for a little farm girl. So
well, I hope you have your sea legs.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody on here. I'm excited to have everyone today.
I am too. Thanks for having us, Jenny.
Always. Always. I know.
And if you're tell them, and then we need to tell them the 26th, we're going to meet in person and hybrid and Zoom.
Yes. So if any of you, because I know this has kind of been opened up to the whole Mary Kay world, no matter what division, if you just signed up all the way to national, these lunch and learns have taken on a life of their own. If you or any of your people are local to Colorado Springs, we're meeting at Lynette's Country Club. And I know people have been sending messages like, how much does it cost? Blah, blah, blah. Nothing. We're going to be there in person. Our speaker might even by chance be with us in person, but we'll still all meet here on Zoom. And if you haven't eaten, I'm sure we can still eat and stuff too. Right, Lynette?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Whatever you want. Salad, dessert, entree, the whole thing. Or just something to drink, whatever.
Yeah, we'll have food and it's hybrid food. There's no cost to come. It's just a lot of directors I know have been reaching out like, can my people come, adoptee, whatever. Anybody can come if you want to be in person. We had so much fun last time, and I think we need.
Oh my gosh, it was great. Yeah, we get our own little room. Nope, I've already prepaid. We're members, so it's not a problem. It's on us. So we get to have those privileges, and that helps me. Then I can write off part of it too. Then.
That's right, girl.
Let's be smart about this, just like Mary Kay would be, right?
Well, we are going to go ahead and get started because you ladies are in for an amazing treat today. And I know, just so you know, Jennifer, so many are going to start rolling in. It's like the floodgates in the next 5 minutes, because for some of you, it truly is your lunch hour. And I want to say thank you to all who have joined the Facebook page, who go to the YouTube link. So it's literally my name if you're new. You can look at all the past recordings. You can go to it's Lunch and Learns. It's Mary Kay Ash's picture, like kind of vintage in a red dress from the Applause magazine. And that's our Facebook page. And give me 24 hours. I always say this in the beginning, just because people blow it up. Like, I need the recording. Yeah. I'm like, I'm getting it. Give me 24 hours. You'll probably get on YouTube before you get it on the other links, but I do get that there. I just have to give it's not normally my office gal's day to do those things, is all I'm saying, but she does that for us anyway. And we have the honor and privilege today to have Mary Kay's right-hand person. I mean, she knows all the things. She's created a legacy of her own. If you've never been in the presence of Jennifer Cook or been able to read her book or been any part of that, you are going to lose your minds today, I'm sure. And so she is famous in her own right. For some of you, it's going to be probably the only Mary Kay you actually meet. And so we have such an honor and privilege, Jennifer, to have you here. Thank you, for always giving back to the Mary Kay world, no matter what. And this truly is just a go give thing. There's nothing anyone really ever benefits from this other than just knowing we're giving our hearts and souls to other women. And so, Jennifer, I just want you to know how much we deeply appreciate you, and so honored to have you take time in your busy schedule to give back to all her daughters. And I'm not going to say a whole lot more in case any of what you want to I don't want to mess up anything you want to share, but if you're okay, I'm going to make you the speaker. If you're new to Zoom, I spotlight her. If you need to see the Brady Bunch, you need to see everybody's faces because that makes you happier in life, then you just go to the right-hand corner under view and hit gallery, and it'll put everybody back in their boxes. So thank you so much, Jennifer. I deeply appreciate you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm going to see if I can get myself in the center of this page. Okay. I will tell you a little bit about myself because I started with Mary Kay in 1971. I was working my way through college and I was 19 years old. So you can just imagine, I had lived a very sheltered life, how naive I was. And I came into Mary Kay as a temporary, working during the summer. And then when school started, I went full time with Mary Kay. And I just loved working there because it was such a positive atmosphere. Then when I was 23 years old and I graduated from college, I became Mary Kay's executive secretary. And when I look back on that now, I think, what was she thinking? I was 23 years old and she was the chairman of the board of a growing corporation. But Mary Kay, she could see potential in people. And I know that she saw potential in me. And I'm, forever grateful that she was my mentor and that I was able to learn from her about so many life lessons. So I thought I would share with you some of the life lessons that I learned from Mary Kay. And the first one I'm going to share is persevere despite obstacles. Mary Kay, obstacles were just opportunities for Mary Kay. And she had obstacles all of her life. When she started this company, her attorney told her that he sent off to Washington for a pamphlet on how many cosmetic companies had gone broke in their first year of business. He wasn't encouraging. Her accountant told her that her commission schedule was too generous and that she was going to go broke in the first year. And another businessman said to her, you might as well just sell me these formulations because you're not going to make it. But Mary Kay realized that perseverance was one of the most important qualities that she had, tenacity. She had a vision, she believed in women, and she wasn't going to give up on that. And because of her perseverance, she actually inspired others to overcome personal obstacles in their own lives. An example of this is National Sales Director Emeritus Nan Stroud. This was in the 1980s, and she had a daughter who had special learning needs. And the school system that she was in actually called Nan and encouraged her to take her daughter out of school. They encouraged her to put her daughter in a home. And Nan was just devastated. And she called Mary Kay, and Mary Kay told her, Nan, she said, there is a solution to this. You just need to find the solution. Well, Nan started researching, and she did find a way that her daughter could learn, and she approached the school system and, talked to the school board about this. And actually, her daughter was able to graduate and leads a normal life now. But as Nan said, without Mary Kay's encouragement, she would have never persevered to find the answer. And, I have a similar story because I have a special needs son. He had failed kindergarten. He took it twice. Then he was in first grade and he was about to fail first grade. And I just thought, oh, that'll just put him so far behind. So I went to the teacher and I said to her, if I can catch this child up to his grade level by the end of the summer, can he go into second grade? And the school agreed. And I did all this research on learning disabilities and the way that different children learn. And I I actually found a teaching method that worked with him. I worked with him all through the summer. He was able to go in second grade. He would go to school in the day, and then at night I would reinforce the lessons that he had learned, but I would use this teaching method that I had learned through my research. So perseverance, we all look at the obstacles that we have. Mary Kay had obstacles too, but we really need to know that with tenacity, we can conquer the obstacles that are in front of us. And that's what Mary Kay knew and what she encouraged those who knew her also. I have a Facebook site and it's called Jennifer Cook -author. And you have to put the -author in there because there's more than one Jennifer Cook author. And on this site, I share stories of National Sales Director Emeritus that I have interviewed. And one of the most inspiring stories that I have shared is by a National Sales Director Emeritus in Canada named Sandy Campbell. I encourage you to find that story and read it because it is so inspiring. She was a victim of domestic violence. Her husband was so violent that he stalked her for years and years after she left him. She actually had to get restraining order after restraining order after restraining order. And she was going to go before the Supreme Court of Canada, now, about getting a permanent restraining order against him. And her lawyer just said, you've spent so much money on this and you're not going to win this, so I'm not going to defend you. Just go to the Supreme Court of Canada and defend yourself. And, you'll save a lot of money. Well, Sandy did that. And the result was that she changed the law in Canada. She won her case before the Supreme Court. But she accredits that without her Mary Kay training, without her having learned how important it is to persevere in her Mary Kay business, she would not have been able to do that. Another important lesson I learned from Mary Kay is that image is important. I had only been in college 2 years. I didn't know anything about working in an office. I came into the office, and at Mary Kay back then, women were to wear dresses, and and the directors certainly had the director's suit. The reason that she did that is because she wanted a prestige sales force, and she knew that the only way that would happen was if they had the appearance of being professional businesswomen, and that is really what she wanted. She was always proud of the appearance of the sales force and the many comments that she got about that. In the beginning of the company, they even had a consultant suit. It was pink. They had a pink consultant suit. But Mary Kay dropped this consultant suit when she decided that the sales directors needed their own suit and that the sales director suit should be a prestigious suit, one that people would aspire to earn the right to wear that suit. And so that was one of the most important decisions that she ever made, and certainly a great decision that the sales directors would have their own suits. Back in the days when I started in the 1970s, polyester pantsuits were all the rage. And everyone would say to Mary Kay, you're behind the times. We need to let our sales directors and our sales force wear polyester pantsuits. You're requiring them to wear skirts or dresses. It's just too outdated. But she always would say, no, we have a dress image and we want to maintain that image, because she knew that if you ever relax your image, you are going to get people showing up at Mary Kay functions who do not look the part that she wants them to pay. Professional beauty consultant is her definition, and that is a professional and someone in the beauty business. As I said, we had a pink polyester pantsuit in the early 60s that Mary Kay dropped. But later on, and this was in the 1970s, Mary Kay was invited to do a Mary Kay night at the ballpark in St. Louis. Mary Kay was always interested in raising money for cancer. The year that I came into the company, 1971, was the year that the first Mary Kay sales director, Eileen Sullivan, had died from cancer. Her sister-in-law was Ann Sullivan, who was a national sales director emeritus. And Ann wanted to do something for cancer research because back in those days, if you were diagnosed with breast cancer, it was a death sentence. There were no research studies at that time on women's cancers or on breast cancer. And so Mary Kay, she was going to remedy this. And so she actually got behind every cause that she could that was raising money for breast cancer and helping women. And she raised money on her own. So Ann Sullivan had a sales director under her whose husband was one of the managers of the St. Louis Cardinals. And she and Ann were talking, and they decided they could raise money for breast cancer if they held a special Mary Kay night at the ballpark, which they did. And the Cardinals, they, instead of their red jerseys, they wore pink jerseys. They had a pink Cadillac parade on the field. Mary Kay was to throw out the first pitch. And there's a funny story about Mary Kay in that first pitch. When Mary Kay got to St. Louis, Joe Cunningham, who was the manager for the St. Louis Cardinals, he said, "Mary Kay, would you like to practice your pitch?" And she said, "Oh, yes, that's a good idea." He told his wife later on, "I knew we were in big trouble when she put the glove on the wrong hand." But she almost made it to home plate when she threw out that first pitch, but not quite. But when she stood on the field and came out on the field, along the first baseline were all these women wearing red jackets. And then along the third baseline were all these women wearing red jackets. And Mary Kay put her hands on her hips and she looked at Ann Sullivan and she said, "What is the deal with all these red jackets?" And Ann told her, "Well, this is the St. Louis Cardinals, so we thought that if someone had 3 recruits, we would have them come out on the ball field. That would be a prize that they would want to be on the ball field out there. And these are all the women in our St. Louis area that have 3 recruits." Well, Mary Kay thought that was so impressive and such a great idea. And wherever she travels, she would start talking about Kathy Cunningham, the St. Louis Cardinals, and red jackets wearing, having 3 recruits. And so people were very interested because she was out plugging this everywhere she went. And she would say, "Oh, if you're interested in the program, call Kathy Cunningham. She knows how to order the red jackets." Well, eventually, Kathy called Mary Kay and she said, "Mary Kay, I am in the Mary Kay business. I am not in the red jacket business. And I am spending so much time ordering red jackets that I am not able to do my Mary Kay business anymore." And that's when the company realized that it needed to become a company program. And they took it over. I know that there's always been a tendency for people want to relax the dress code. And one of their things I heard continuously is that, well, we can't get the younger recruits if we, have a dress code like this. So I was talking one time to a Cadillac director who was like 23 years old. So I would definitely call her a younger recruit. And I asked her, I said, "How do you feel about, wearing the director suit, having to wear a suit instead of, of pants?" And she said, "I love wearing a suit. I am 23 years old. A lot of the women in my unit are a lot older than I am," she says, "and when I put on this suit, I have authority. It gives me authority over the women." And so for her, it was a symbol of truly what it's supposed to be, a symbol of the fact that she is a leader to her unit. Another thing I learned from Mary Kay was to maintain a positive attitude. So many people come from jobs and backgrounds filled with negativity. When Mary Kay was a young woman, she read a book that was called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and she said it changed her life. This book stresses the importance of one's thoughts. She began reading other motivational books and realized the importance of thoughts. And when anyone in the Mary Kay staff met Mary Kay on the elevator, she would always ask, "How are you doing?" And if they said, "Oh, I'm fine," then she would say, "No, you're great." And in fact, when a new employee came onto the staff, other members of his department would say, "Now listen, if you get on the elevator with Mary Kay, she is going to ask you, 'How are you doing?' And the answer is great." And after their first meeting with Mary Kay, they would come back with their head hung low because they were so in awe of Mary Kay that they, couldn't even remember how to answer when she asked them, how are you doing? And they would say, "Fine." And when they said fine, that was her opportunity to tell them that, "No, you're great." But if you think about it, you're better if your day goes better if you get up in the morning and you think, "This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." And so instead of going, "Oh, this is going to be a crummy day," it sets the tone for your day, and to look forward to the day with positive expectancy. And that's one thing that Mary Kay did. And that's one thing that she taught her staff to do, is to look forward to having a great day. There were days, of course, that Mary Kay didn't feel like maintaining the positive attitude or feel like being enthusiastic, and days when she was frustrated, but she knew she was a role model and she always acted accordingly. She knew her attitude affected others and she kept it positive. And she also knew that we not only need to focus on keeping our own attitude positive, but we need to plant positive seeds in the lives of others. We should be encouragers, helping others to discover their gifts and develop them. Mary Kay often said that people can achieve more than they ever thought they could if someone believed in them, and she was going to be that person who believed in people. And I've seen this principle in action so many times. I once read this quote by Harry Truman, and I loved it. It said, "A pessimist is one who makes difficulties of his opportunities, and an optimist is one who makes opportunities of his difficulties." Mary Kay was one of the most organized people that I know, and part of her organization skill set was the 6 most important things I must do today list. She said that when she was a young woman, she read this story about Ivy Lee and Charles Schwab, who was the president of Bethlehem Steel, not the Charles Schwab today who has the investment company, but the guy who started Bethlehem Steel. And Bethlehem Steel was still a young company. And a gentleman named Ivy Lee came to Charles Schwab and told him that he could improve the efficiency of his managers. And Schwab said, "Well, how much is it going to cost me?" And Lee said, "Oh, it won't cost you anything if it doesn't work." So what he did was he met with managers and he instructed them that at the end of the day, they were to make a list of the 6 things they needed to do the next day, the 6 most important things, that they were to number them in order of importance and leave that pad on their desk. Then the next day when they came in, they were to start working on those one by one. And if they didn't get everything done that day, then they were to move that to the next day's list. Well, 3 months later, Mr. Schwab, in evaluating the idea, wrote Ivy Lee a check for $35,000. And when Mary Kay thought that she called this a $35,000 idea, and she thought if it was worth that much money to Charles Schwab, it would surely be worth it for her to try it. And every day when she came into the office, she had that 6 most important things list. And it is, whenever I get out of the habit of making my 6 most important things list, I discover I do not make as much progress in my day as I would if I was more focused by making that list. Another lesson I learned from Mary Kay was all you send into the lives of others comes back into your own. And Mary Kay taught people how to give. She taught us that to give generously, that you could not outgive God. One way that she did this was through her efforts in cancer research and her founding of the Mary Kay Foundation. But even before that, she was always giving to people. When children of Salesforce members would write in and say they were involved in raising money for their Cub Scout troop or for a mission trip, she would always write a check for $25 and send to that child. She also initiated giving to a cause in our subsidiaries and in a lot of places where people wouldn't think necessarily that the people would be generous givers. An example of this, and one of my favorite examples of this, is in China, where they funded a girls' school in a very, very remote area of China. And if these girls had not had this opportunity from Mary Kay, they would not have gone to school. One time, the China staff went to visit these girls, and they took some pictures. And on the blackboard in the classroom, there were the words Mary Kay Ash written, and underneath Mary Kay Ash, all in Chinese, they had written all about Mary Kay. And to me, it was amazing that Mary Kay had planted a seed in Dallas, Texas in 1963. And years later, she was being studied by Chinese female students in a remote village of China. That is how far-reaching her vision became. So they had also provided a meal for these girls. And they had all these wonderful meat dishes, but they noticed that the girls were only eating their rice and not eating any of their meat dishes. So one of the staff asked one of the little girls, "Why aren't you eating those meat dishes?" And she said, "Because meat is only allowed for boys." And the staff explained to them, "No, these are your dishes. You can eat this meat." But the girls were still timid about eating the meat. And finally, there's a picture of one little girl with her chopsticks, and she has a look of anticipation on her face as she is going after one of those meat dishes. And when I saw that slide, I thought, now there is a national sales director in the making. Someone who can see the opportunity and is not afraid to let the thoughts of others keep her from taking what she knows can be hers. And I think that's a lesson for all of us, that sometimes our minds get stuck on the fact that we have been programmed in such a way that we don't develop all of our abilities and see all the potential before us because of these limitations that are set for us by society. One of my favorite memories of Mary Kay is pretend that everyone you meet has a sign around his or her neck that says, "Make me feel important." And I think this was the first lesson I really learned from Mary Kay, because I was in the office and I was watching and working, and I was new. I hadn't been there very long. And I would see people bring sales directors and consultants bring prospective consultants into the office to meet Mary Kay. And the effect that Mary Kay had on people, and especially women, was absolutely amazing. A sales director would say to Mary Kay, "I'd want you to meet my newest recruit." And the recruit, Mary Kay, would say, "Well, what is your name, honey?" And they would start crying. Inevitably, people would start crying in Mary Kay's presence. And at first I thought, what is going on here? I just couldn't imagine. And this is where I really learned what the definition of charismatic meant, because Mary Kay was a charismatic person. She had a presence, and her presence affected the people that she was around. So she would continue to talk with them. And if you talked with Mary Kay, you would never leave her side without setting a goal. And if you did not have a goal, she would set one for you. And so lots of these women were prospective recruits or new recruits, and so they knew very little about the business. And if they were a new recruit, Mary Kay would say something like, you know what? I think you're going to be a sales director. Don't you think you can be a sales director? And she'd nod her head up and down. And of course, they would agree they were going to be a sales director. They were so new, they didn't know what a sales director was. So they would go home, look it up in the consultant's guide, and think, oh no, what have I just committed to Mary Kay that I'm going to do? And when you hear the testimonies of many of the very first national sales directors who are emeriti now, this is their story. They committed to Mary Kay to become a sales director before they even knew what it was. But they were determined that they were not going to let Mary Kay down. And she would take her hands and put them around the hands of the person that she was talking to. She would never take her eye off of that person, no matter what was going on around them. And she made everyone who met her feel so very important. Let's see. Got my pages out of order. You know, I was very shy when I came into the company, and I can remember, you know, that Mary Kay believed in me. Excuse me, kind of forgetting my words here, but I learned early on from this being a part of this company that the only way to have a friend is to be a friend. And in watching so many shy women overcome their obstacles and reach great success, you know, that's an inspiration in itself. And we always think that the other person is so poised or they have such a great life. But if you really talk to those persons, that you will find that they've had obstacles and they have had personal growth in their life. And so that definitely brings me to another thing that I learned from Mary Kay, and that was personal growth. You know, Mary Kay believed that you needed to keep growing in your Mary Kay career. She believed in keeping growing and learning. And she at seminars and leadership conferences, she would take notes of everything that was being said. She would share what she learned. She continued to learn. She would listen to motivational tapes. She read motivational books. Throughout her life, she continued to read books and to listen to tapes and to seek out information that she felt could help her in her career. She took the Dale Carnegie course many, many times because as a young salesperson, she realized that she needed to develop those people skills to be a success. And she diligently, for the rest of her life, sought after knowledge. And I remember she read Lee Iacocca's book, and she came into the office. She was so excited about, you know, what she had learned from that book. So she continually kept learning. A very, very important principle that I learned was to live my life by the golden rule. And as we all know, the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And Mary Kay adopted this as a founding principle for her company. In the early days, they had a speaker. This was back in the early 60s. They had a speaker who came in and was talking about the golden rule to the sales directors. And he mentioned the golden rule marble, which is a visible reminder of this rule. And so Mary Kay was very interested in it. And during the meeting, she had one of the sales directors go out and make a call to the organization that the speaker said could supply them with Golden Rule marbles. And from that moment on, whenever anyone debuted as a sales director, she would personally give them a Golden Rule marble. And as she gave out these marbles, she would remind the receivers that it is not a bed of roses without thorns, and that problems come to our door every day. When faced with a crucial decision, she wanted them to take out their marbles, hold it in their hands, and think what they would do if they could solve the problem by the Golden Rule philosophy. Few people will live by the Golden Rule. And so if you are doing so, that makes you stand out among people as one who is wise, as one who cares. Mary Kay would say many, many times, I've repaid good for evil over and over again. And I always found that it ended to my best advantage. Now, I've heard people say, that person is not living the Golden Rule. Well, if you examine the Golden Rule, it says, do unto others. And the implied person that's doing it is you. The Golden Rule does not say others will do unto me as I want to be, as I want them to act toward me. No, the Golden Rule is I will do unto others, even if they don't use the Golden Rule in dealing with me. And of course, probably the most important lesson that we could ever learn is to keep our priorities in the proper perspective, with God first, family second, and career third. And I actually became a Christian because of Mary Kay. I wasn't a Christian at 23, when I took this job with her. She talked about Christianity so much. It was like air to her. It wasn't a separate part of her life. It was a core belief in her life. And so to do better in my job, I decided that I would do some research into Christianity and find out what it was all about. And because of that, I gave my life to the Lord. I also realized the importance of keeping my family second. And that was hard to do because I worked for a corporation. And so I couldn't set my own hours. But I had to plan. I planned around my children's events. And like in the summer, when we would work seminar, and when we were doing the 5 seminars, I would work 5 seminars back to back, which left little time for my family. And my oldest child is a daughter, and I would, when she got old enough, I brought her to seminar awards night, because I had to think of ways that I could spend time with my daughter, and that I could, comfortably do it. And I would bring her to one seminar awards night every year when she got to be, early teens, 13, 14 years old. And so she would sit there and she would listen. And I remember one time she turned to me and she said, Mom, that is the best Queen's speech I have ever heard. And I just thought, I'm so glad she's listening to these, because she's hearing about women who've overcome obstacles and have set goals. And when she graduated from college, she decided to get her master's, and she decided to get her doctorate degree, and she was in education. And she has continued to rise from one step to the other, from teacher to librarian to instructional specialist to curriculum coordinator development to vice principal, and now she has this really long title that's called, she is the executive director of curriculum development for the elementary schools in Rockwall, Texas. And that's a long title, but you can just imagine. I feel like part of that is the fact that I took her to awards night and she saw that women could achieve. And I think that's what Mary Kay Salesforce members can give their families. Besides the flexibility, it is these other qualities of having a positive attitude and overcoming obstacles and setting goals. These are all things that you can pass on to your family. They're all things that Mary Kay tells us to do. of course, one of the most important lessons I learned from Mary Kay was leadership. And she has so many qualities of leadership. And I have a lot I could say about Mary Kay and leadership, but I probably don't have the time. But John Maxwell at one time wrote this. I listened to this tape series that he had that was, and part of the series was why the leaders are the best leaders, why the best leaders are the best leaders. And he had 10 qualities of leaders that he talked about. And he's, of course, he says no one person could ever exemplify all these 10 qualities. And I was listening to this tape and I thought, oh, yes, I know a person that exemplifies all these 10 qualities, because every one of these leadership qualities I saw in action in Mary Kay. And they included things like personal growth, which we've talked about, being a lifelong leader, relating to others. Mary Kay always did her own shopping. Because she wanted to get the best prices, but also because she wanted to know what the price of bread and the price of milk was, because she wanted to know what the average beauty consultant was experiencing in her daily economics, her home economics, so that she would be able to relate. She never wanted to be put into an ivory tower. Openness. When Mel died, Mary Kay wasn't going to go to leadership conference because he died of lung cancer just a few days before the leadership conference. At the last minute, she decided to go, and she openly shared her sorrow with everyone there. And it was probably one of the most touching moments that we've had in Mary Kay. And I thought, this is where Mary Kay needs to be, because when you've lost someone so dear to you, where do you need to be? Who do you need to be surrounded by? The people that love you. And the sales directors, they knew Mel, they loved Mel too. And so it was just so touching, because she was with these people that really understood her love for Mel and could support her. But she had to be open about it and willing to share about it. And then great leaders are great teachers. Mary Kay never passed up an opportunity to teach. At seminars, she taught the future directors class, the husbands class, the Hall A. She spoke at Hall A, and she spoke at the main event at seminar, the directors class. Anytime that she could teach, she taught. And she always had an outline, and she would continue to add to her teaching as she learned new methods and knew what was going on from the sales directors, because she always said that the pulse of this company is the sales directors and what they are teaching at their skincare classes, what they are teaching, because they are the ones who are out in the field, and the field, she knew, was the most important base for the company. And then serving others. A great leader serves others. And I saw this in Mary Kay so many times, when someone would tell their problem to her, and she would immediately try to find someone to hook them up with that would help them with their problem. She would go out of her way to help people. She was not the kind of boss that said, "Get me my coffee." She got her own coffee. She came in and made her lunch every day and go down to the kitchen and make her own iced tea. She was very independent because she didn't see herself above others. She saw herself as someone that God was using to help others. An example of this is back when we had those big flip charts. They were going to introduce the first flip charts, and they were huge. They were probably 2 feet tall and 18 inches across. They were huge. And they had a meeting before they introduced them. It was at a directors conference, and Mary Kay was explaining how to use it, and they ran out of time and they were running late. And so Mary Kay said, "Who's got the farthest away class?" And Anna Ewing, who was an emeritus, raised her hand and said, "Well, my class is way over there." And Mary Kay says, "I'll help you." take your stuff over there. And she said, Mary Kay picked up all the stuff and marched out, and Anna was appalled. She said, Mary Kay, I can carry that. I can do that. And Mary Kay said, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for you. And of course, Anna just, she was just flabbergasted. And then later on, she was thinking about this and she thought, Mary Kay taught me a valuable lesson. She taught me that to be a good leader, I had to be in service to others. So these are some of the lessons that I've learned from Mary Kay. I would suggest that you think about your own career and what you have learned from being part of Mary Kay Cosmetics. Never stop learning. In Mary Kay, you have wonderful mentors that have valuable business lessons and life lessons that they can share with you. So take every advantage of attending events so that you can hear their stories, so that you can hear their experiences, so that you can hear their knowledge, so that you can learn how to be positive, how to be productive, how to be enthusiastic. And then you'll have your own list of what I learned from Mary Kay Ash. So if there's time for questions, I don't mind taking questions.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I think we all need to have those memories and learn that maybe some things we have heard stories of. There were a couple of them like, oh, that's more details on that story. I loved hearing her, and thank you for passing her legacy on in her heart and her soul and what she really wanted for all of us. Is there anything anybody wants to, I don't know, ask or share with Jennifer or affirm her with before we go today?
Well, Jennifer, I want to thank you because I went on one of those tours, one of your tours when I was at seminar.
Those are fun, aren't they? I enjoy doing that.
Yeah. So that was really, really nice to be able to see some of her homes and get some of the back history. And yes.
In case you don't know, I actually sometimes at seminar, I have been asked by some directors to go on a bus tour with them. They book the bus company first, and then they'll say, can we have Jennifer? And she always says, well, you have to call Jennifer because I'm just the bus company. And I'll go and we'll go to Mary Kay buildings, the corporate buildings, and her house, and just places that are Mary Kay memories. And those are a lot of fun for me to do because I love being with the sales force and I love sharing about Mary Kay. So I'm glad you had the opportunity to do that.
That's awesome.
Hey, Jennifer, this is Carla. I'm a sales director in Dallas. And I have another job. I'm a vice president of a commercial real estate firm, but our firm is on Douglas Avenue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I took my own self tour and I've driven by the big house several times. And when they knocked it down, I ran out there and I got a rock.
Oh, good. Someone picked one up for me and
maybe this is part of the house.
Brought it into the museum. So yeah, Mary Kay rock. Yeah.
Yes, I got a rock. I got a rock from the house they knocked down, which I guess if I remember right, that wasn't her dream house. She wanted to stay in the other house. Is that correct?
Right. She moved into that house in 1985, and she contracted with the builder. She didn't get any advice. She just saw this pink house that was under construction, and he told Mary Kay he'd finish it out for her like she wanted, and she got so excited that she signed the contract. And he was building the house, and she never had any Mary Kay people go out there and inspect it. The deal was that he was going to be out of there by seminar, and when the Mary Kay first bus was pulling in for the seminar winners, the construction crew was pulling out the other way, and during that seminar it rained. And remember, she just moved into this house. All the windows leaked. It was leaking through the roof. Mary Kay and the staff were running around with pans and things trying to stop all of those leaks. And later on that night, she was walking down the hall upstairs and the roof fell in. And when it fell in, there was all of these Whataburger bags and Coke bottles that the crew had just left up there. it had not been, it was very poorly built.
Properly supervised. It was not
Yeah.
supervised.
Yes, it was
Oh my
very poorly
gosh.
built. And for years, they would keep finding problems like electrical wires that didn't connect to anything. And
Oh,
the builder built it over a spring, and then it started leaking up from the bottom of the house, and they had to put in a sump pump. So after 5 years, Mary Kay said, her house, I've had it. I'm moving back into the house that Mel and I built together, which was a house that had very good memories for her. So yeah, she lived there 5 years, and it was a beautiful house, but it was one of those that was pretty on the outside, but the inside was falling apart.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And that's a story that probably hardly anybody knows. So y'all were special to know that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
well, ladies, I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being part of this Lunch and Learn and passing this along. We'll get the recording out there so you can pass on to all your friends and consultants and team members and that couldn't make it on their lunch hour. And Jennifer, thank you so much for your time and being here today. It was such an honor to have you.
Oh, it was my pleasure to talk about Mary Kay.
Ladies, you have an amazing Thursday and an amazing weekend to come.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.